The year is 1974. A massive fire had swept through the property of Antoine and Jerry Betz. As the couple inspected the damage amidst the ashes, they discovered something extraordinary. Sitting in the middle of the scorched, blackened earth lay a flawless, polished metal sphere. When their son, Terry, picked up the object to examine it, he was stunned. It was only 20 centimeters in diameter, yet unnervingly heavy. Succumbing to curiosity, the family made a choice they would later call the biggest mistake of their lives. They brought the sphere home, and from that moment on, welcome to Secret History. The land where the Betz family found the sphere was located on Fort George Island in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, we are not talking about a small suburban plot here. This property was vast, an 88-acre industrial pine forest. Antoine Betz was a marine engineer. His wife, Jerry, was a respected painter. Together with their 6 children, they lived in a massive mansion they affectionately called the Castle. Before we dive deeper into the event, it is crucial to understand one thing. The Betz family was highly educated and wealthy. Usually behind stories like this, you find people desperate for media attention or looking to make a quick buck. The Betz family was not one of them. The mysterious Betz Sphere was 20 centimeters in diameter, weighing roughly 11 kilograms, about the size of a bowling ball, but significantly heavier. Aside from a few scratches, there were no seams, no welding marks, no sign of industrial manufacturing. Since it didn't appear dangerous, Terry simply placed it by his window like an ordinary ornament. The family paid it little mind, and life went on. But a few weeks later, everything would change. One day, while Terry and a friend were playing guitar in his room, they heard a strange humming sound coming from somewhere. When they stopped playing to listen, the sound vanished. Thinking their ears were ringing, they started playing again, and the hum returned instantly. Walking around the room, strumming his guitar, Terry discovered the source. It was the sphere. The hum even changed pitch, matching the notes he played. As the 2 friends played louder, the faint hum evolved into a powerful vibration, terrifying their dog, who ran from the room in fear. Terry's curiosity was piqued. He began his own experiments. First, he tapped it lightly with a hammer, and the sphere rang out like a bell. Wanting to show his family, he placed the object on the carpet in the middle of the living room. Everyone gathered around. But the moment Terry stepped away to grab his gear, something impossible happened right before their eyes. Without any external force, the sphere began to follow Terry. The Betz sphere was no longer just a piece of metal found in the woods. It reacted to sound, to touch. It was moving on its own. When rolled, it would stop, vibrate, change direction, and return to the person who pushed it. Sometimes these movements lasted seconds, other times up to 5 minutes. On one occasion, it reportedly rolled around the room for 12 minutes straight. Antoine Betz, a marine engineer, suspected a gyroscope mechanism inside. He placed the sphere on a glass-top table to test it. When pushed, another strange phenomenon occurred. The sphere rolled to the very edge, but didn't fall. It stabilized itself, teetering on the brink, then began to orbit the table's perimeter. Baffled, Antoine lifted one side of the table, but instead of sliding down and falling, the sphere rolled up the incline, stopping at the edge, as if a conscious mechanism was protecting it from the drop. When Gary tried to shake it, the sphere seemed displeased. In a newspaper interview, she stated that after shaking it and setting it down, the object rolled away from her as if keeping its distance. The family discovered more. Stationary, it had a weak magnetic field. But in motion, that field intensified significantly. It could hold paper clips while still, but once active, it could hold heavy jar lids and wouldn't let them go easily. They also found it reacted to the sun. After sitting in the midday heat, the sphere would retain that warmth for 3 full days. Eventually, the story leaked. The Jacksonville, Florida Times-Union sent a skeptical photographer, Lou Egner, to the house. He arrived a non-believer, but left a convert. When he pushed the sphere, it navigated the room and returned to stop at his feet. The story hit the front page. The phone didn't stop ringing. The Betz family, who preferred a quiet, isolated life, was suddenly under siege. They refused money and fame until a call came that they couldn't ignore. The U.S. Navy. They demanded to examine the object, claiming it might be their technology. Reluctantly, the family agreed to a 2-week loan, signing a contract guaranteeing its return if it wasn't government property. The Navy's tests were baffling. The shell was stainless steel, but capable of withstanding extreme heat and pressure, calculated at 50,000 kilograms per square centimeter. Spectrum analysis identified the steel as 431 grade, but with a twist. The sphere had 4 distinct magnetic poles, 2 positive, 2 negative. Then came the X-rays. At first, the machine couldn't penetrate it. Using stronger equipment, they finally saw inside. The shell was 2.5 centimeters thick, but inside, there were smaller spheres, 3 of them, seemingly connected by wires, floating in a hollow core the size of an apple. How were these components placed inside a seamless, solid steel ball? There were no answers. As the mystery deepened, the public began to suspect extraterrestrial origins. The family turned to private experts. Dr. Carl Wilson of Omega-1 Institute found that the sphere emitted radio waves and defied the known laws of physics regarding magnetic poles. Then came Dr. James Harder, a professor of engineering. His findings were chilling. He determined the internal material had an atomic number of 140. For context, naturally occurring uranium is 92. The highest element science has synthesized is 118. An atomic number of 140 meant one thing. This object was not from Earth, and it was not natural. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, the famous astronomer and government UFO consultant, confirmed these findings. But things were turning dangerous. Strange men offering vast sums of money, fake IDs, likely foreign agents, showed up at their door. In a desperate move to find answers, the family sent Terry and the Sphere to a panel of scientists organized by the National Enquirer. Experts proposed drilling into the object, but Dr. Harder warned that disturbing such a high atomic element could cause a radioactive catastrophe. In the middle of this debate, Terry received a phone call. The hospital. His mother had been in a terrible accident. She was critical. Panicked, Terry left the Sphere with the professors and rushed to the hospital. But there was no accident, no record of his mother. It was a lie. He raced back, but the Sphere was gone. He tracked the thieves to a location in New Orleans, which turned out to be a heavily guarded naval facility. After a legal battle, the Navy claimed they found nothing new and returned the Sphere to Terry, or so they said. When reporters asked Terry to demonstrate its movement, the Sphere sat dead on the floor. No rolling, no vibration, no sound. Suspicious, the family ran new X-rays. The magnetic poles were gone. The 3 internal spheres vanished. Dr. Harder concluded that the government had created a replica and swapped it. The pressure became too much. Foreign threats, media harassment, and finally government agents physically assaulting Terry. The Betz family had had enough. They sold their home, their land, and vanished into anonymity. They never spoke to the press again. And the question remains unanswered to this day. What was the Betz Sphere? And more importantly, Where did it really come from? Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment. Until the next video, take care.